And I would always advise, never over leverage. And number two, don't speculate in property. Don't speculate buying an old estate by thinking that, hey, maybe it can go en bloc. So there are risks always there. Anyone who's entering the real estate market, don't take the forward step emotionally. Think twice.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of 5 Questions With from the Business Times. I'm Nivani and with me today is Ismail Gafoor, co-founder and executive chairman of real estate agency PropNex's. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Gafoor.
Truly my pleasure, Niv.
Thank you. I want to jump straight into our first question. So 25 years ago, you founded PropNex's, and today it is Singapore's largest real estate agency with a market cap of over $1.7 billion. Tell me about the success story.
When I started 25 years ago, PropNex's actually is a coming together of few companies, and I was just focused on one thing, economies of scale. But I realized the industry was unregulated and it lacks professionalism. But never did I ever dream or ever had this vision that we will be a $1.7 billion company. And I would say the success of PropNex's is not about one man, Ismail Gafoor. It is a group of people who are all aligned with the vision and core ideology of wanting to bring about greater value to our salespeople and the customers alike.
That's a very passionate answer. You also mentioned in a Straits Times interview recently that this personal property story of yours couldn't be replicated today. Can you explain more about that?
What I'm trying to say though here is this. The stage of the real estate industry today and 25 years ago is totally different. There weren't many mega agencies, and the margin that the company used to keep in the past can be 30 to 40%. But today we are talking about 10 to 15%, while 85% to 90% are given to the salespeople. I think in the past, it is more of an emotional selling. Today, with informations at the fingertip, consumers don't fall for emotional selling. Consumers only make the right decision supported by data and information. And therefore, I think the job of a real estate agent today is very different from that of 15, 20 years ago.
And with that, let me ask you about the current market we have today. So in the second quarter of 2025, a record 415 resale HDB flats was sold for more than $1 million, a 75.8% jump from the same period last year. What does this mean for home buyers and owners in terms of both risks and opportunities?
Last year was the first year that we witnessed more than 1,000 units that has been transacted above $1 million. But for the first 9 months, we already surpassed last year's numbers, and today we are talking about more than 1,200 units transacted above $1 million and likely to cross 1,005 to 1,006. But at the end of the day, Niv, if you look at it holistically, these numbers only represent about 5 to 6%. Annually, public housing, we have about 28, 29, about 30,000. These numbers of $1 million transactions will be a trend that will just set new record numbers in coming years. And that is, to me, is understandable simply because today even some of the BTO, built-to-order flats in the central locations, a 5-room can be well above $700,000 to $800,000, and these are subsidized homes. And if you take it, let's say, either after a 5-year MOP, minimum occupation period, and the mere fact that it will cross $1 million by all other things that includes the interest that have been paid, the stamp duties that have been paid, and therefore $1 million home should not be the key focus. But what is important here is this: will Singaporean have a choice? Do we have a variety of homes? And one of the good things here is this: it is the authority and our government's commitment to have affordable home of different sizes in different locations The average 4-room resale price is about $610,000 today, average. And this I'm talking about in the non-matured estate. Anyone who's buying a $600,000 home and their monthly installment will be about $2,100. Then who can afford this? A young couple, if each of them earn about $5,000, a combined income of $10,000, and if they are below 35, the ordinary account CPF alone will have $2,300, and they can fully pay the monthly mortgage without having to come out a dollar. There are affordable homes, and we should not be so worried about.
Some believe that a bubble is brewing in Singapore's private property market. What is your take on this?
In my view, the government time and again introduced cooling measures only with one objective. Can we have a sustainable growth in the real estate private market so that subsequent generations can also afford? I'm quite certain, and I don't see a bubble happening right now. Thanks to the government's intervention timely and to put in place the various cooling measures. Just about 4 years ago, the annual growth was 10.6%. And can you imagine a double-digit growth of a private property in 5 years? If it every year is 10%, a $2 million property will end up in just 5 years, $3 million. And if it is unchecked, another 10% for another 5 years, a $3 million will become $4.5 million. That's insane because our income will not keep pace with such increment. So, in fact, it was 10.6% growth. The following year was 8.6%. Then in 2023, the government came out with much more stricter cooling measures, including a 60% additional stamp duties and foreigners. So basically the government say now the focus is Singaporean first. As far as foreigners is concerned, I don't want to use the term get lost, but you don't come in is perfectly okay. Yep. And what happened to the prices in the subsequent 2 years? It has come down to 4 to last year 3.9, and for the first 9 months, and it was just a mere 3.1%. So today, I'm quite certain the private property market, in fact, has moved up the whole of last year, and this year was even lesser than inflation, or our GDP growth of 4.4% last year.
Are there risks that you see or anything that we should be more concerned about as opposed to looking forward to?
I think a risk will always be there in not 10 years later. The risk will also be here now. And, interest rates like 10 years, 5 years ago, there were times where they were so low as there were instances below 1% or 1.5%. Then suddenly it went up to 4.5%. So if you have over leverage and when the interest rate goes up, you are exposed, and that's a risk. And today the interest rates are down and back to 1.5, 1.6. Can it go up to 3%, 4%? May. And I would always advise, never over leverage. And number two, don't speculate in property. Don't speculate buying an old estate by thinking that, hey, maybe it can go en bloc. Maybe it will not. Anyone who enter the real estate market, they should have a mid and a long-term view, and also need to be mindful. One of the hot topic right now here is the lease decay. So we are talking about public housing by the turnaround of the decade in 2030. There will be public housing whose balanced lease will be a mere 30 over years. So there are risks always there. So I would always say that anyone who's entering the real estate market, don't take the forward step emotionally. Think twice.
See, I can tell that you've picked up a lot of experience and knowledge over your time. But now, with Kelvin taking over the reins from you at PropNex's, how do you think the company will navigate this property market and the next 10 years ahead?
Kelvin is not someone new to the industry. He has been with me for the last 23 years. So he's aligned, he has worked with me, and he feels for the people, and he values the consumers. Since COVID, it is no more the older ways of doing business. It is more of tech, data, and as well as information in a fast and a timely manner. And we have a market share of public housing, private resale, private new launches, 64%. So almost 2/3 of all transactions that takes place in Singapore, we have the data of what is the price it was transacted and what are people willing to pay. And if you are a seller or a buyer, if I can use the data to tell you something that is not even available in the market, tonight the deal is done, the next minute is keyed into the system, and I'm talking to you and I will say your neighbor at 19th floor sold at this price, your neighbor at the 4th floor is asking at this price. So I'm helping you to make the right decision so that you don't overprice or neither do you sell underpriced.
If we look at the next 10 years, what are the 3 trends that you foresee shaping Singapore's property market?
I would say for sure more compact houses that will come out catering to the needs and aspirations of people within the affordable range. Growing population's needs, houses that comes with the necessary safeties, gadgets, and lifestyle for their requirement. And within the next 10 years, how are we going to find a replacement home for those people whose public housing lease decay are dropping? At the end of the day, we have almost the highest percentage of population owning a property. So we are not going to see a huge shift. But there's something that I realized, that the aspirations of the younger people wanting to have a lifestyle over the years have been much stronger. That means when there are executive condominium, the take-up rate at the launches were almost 70, 80, 90%. And these are either the first-time Singaporeans or HDB upgraders. And again, then when we look at other private property, and again, you'll be surprised, ever since the government introduced 60% ABSD for foreigners in 2023, today, the foreigners who are buying last year and for the first 9 months only accounted to 1.4%. Who are the 98.6%? 90% of them are true Singaporeans and the other 8% are PR. The next 10 years, the demand for private property will be led by Singaporean. And there's also another valid reason, Nif. If I ask you to guess, since first quarter of year 2000, that means now about 5 years plus, how much have the public housing increased in 5 years? Do you want to guess?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. 54.9%. So, if a property was 600, today we are talking about 900. 54% across the board. Which means today a Singaporean, when he sells his HDB, he's able to cash out and he has the ability to upgrade for those people who are having a stable job. And that's where the real estate market demand for private property is fueled by local Singaporeans.
Thank you so much for your time today, Mr. Gafoor. I feel like I really learned a lot from speaking with you.
Thank you so much. And truly, real estate is something that everybody is passionate about.